Hello everyone, this is AVP, also known as Alicia. Thought I would do another stream tonight, a very sort of brief but not overly long stream. But I thought I'd discuss one of my favorite things, books, and how I love to read, and also how I love Shakespeare. I mean, some of you may be thinking, oh, Shakespeare's boring, he's out of date, and everything like that. But I thought I would discuss about reading and how I love to read. Reading is a huge love for me, and it's very special to me. So if you want to come on and chat with me, we can discuss it together. If not, you can stay in where you are, and I will just talk about books I've read, and I'm going to go over a list tentatively that I found on the website called Goodreads.com, and I will put this up in the chat so you guys can find the same list yourself. Hello Elihu, welcome my dear friend. So this is the list that you want to find if you can. And this is the website that I'm going to be reading from. It's basically, hello Thomas, good to see you my good friend. So this one is 100 books to read before you die, and I'm going to go over that list. So the first one is 1984 by George Orwell. I did read this one, actually, believe it or not. I liked it, but it was okay. Thank you so much, Elihu. Appreciate that. Make sure you share it too, please, if you can. So the first one was 1984 by George Orwell. I have seen that. I have read that one. The next one on the list is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I have read that one. That's a very good classic literature to read if you have never read it. The next one is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I have read that one. I read that one when I was in high school, when I was just 15 years old. I remember that one. The next one is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I have read that one, and I've also seen movies. Hello, Storyman Jack. Good to see you. I am just going over the list of the 100 books to read before you die. And so if anybody who is in the chat who's watching this and wants to come on, please let me know. I will share the stream with you. So let me copy this. And like I said, if you want to come on board, let me know, and I'm going to just go through this list. So the first one, like I said, was 1984 by George Orwell. I read that one. The next one was Pride and Prejudice. The next one is To Kill a Mockingbird. The next one is The Great Gatsby. So all of those books so far that I've already mentioned, yes, I read those. The next one is Catch-22. I have not read that one yet. The next one is The Catcher in the Rye. I have read that one. I did not like that one too well. The next one is Animal Farm. I know what it's about, basically, but I've never actually read it. The next one is Great Expectations. That is actually my next one I really want to read. So that one I need to read. Next one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. That is on my list to read as well. Next one is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And that is also on my list to read as well. Next one is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I have read that one. I've seen also film adaptations of that. And I think one of my favorite ones is the one with Winona Ryder. So that one was really good. Next one is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I actually read that one in my senior year of high school. That was a very good one. The next one was The Handmaid's Tale. I have not read that one yet. And that is by Margaret Atwood. So that is also on my list to read. Next is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Yes, I have read that one. Next one is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I have that one to read. I have it, but I have not read it yet. Next one is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. That one I need to read as well. Next one is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. No, I have not read that one yet, but I will read it. I promise you of that. Next one is, let me see, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Yes. Okay, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have not read that one of his. I have read another book of his, Chronicle of a Death Foretold, and I read that one, but I have not read 100 Years of Solitude. Next is Crime and Punishment. Not yet. Haven't read that one. The next one is The Count of Monte Cristo. I have read that one. That one was a very good book. Next one is Lolita. I have not read that one. I want to read that one. Next is Gone with the Wind. I have that one to read as well. I have it, but I haven't really read it. I've seen the movie now. Next one, which I'm looking forward to hopefully reading as well, is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That one looks really good. Next is Ulysses. Have not read that one yet. Next is Of Mice and of Men. I have read that one. The next one is The Lord of the Rings, the 1 through 3 by Tolkien. I read them, but I need to reread them because I read it a little too fast, but I did read it. Next one's On the Road. Have not read that one. Next is The Wind in the Willows. I think I've read quite a bit of it, but not all of it. The next one is, let me check. Hold on one second. Somebody's messaging me. Okay, so the next one is Midnight's Children. I have not read that one. Actually, I never. Hello, Cryptic. You can come on if you want to, Cryptic. I'll copy this again. So, the next one is The Little Prince. I have read that in French, but not English. Hello, Crystal. How are you, my dear? Good to see you. I am just going over this list that is up on the screen that you guys can see. I'm going through these books, saying which ones I have read and which ones I have not. I am currently on the book The Little Prince, and I was explaining that I have read that one in French, not in English. Alrighty, no problem, Betty. Totally understand. Next one is Dracula. I have not read that one, but I want to read that one. Next is Moby Dick. I have read that one, yes. And here comes Cryptic. Hello, Cryptic.
Hi, Alicia. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I don't know if anyone knows who's watching this, but I was invited on a few days ago to a Ulysses chat with Sean and the ambassador. And you played Cards Against Humanity, and it was so much fun.
We had an awesome time. It was so much fun, yes.
It was my first ever live chat as well, so it was really nice. It was really special.
Well, you need to do more of these, Cryptic, for sure. So I'm just going through the list, Cryptic, of these 100 books to read before you die, and I stopped off at Moby Dick. I have actually read that one. Did you ever read that one, Cryptic, by any chance?
Actually, no. I've never read Moby Dick, but I've read the book it's based on, the original story it's based on.
Okay.
They turned it to a film a few years ago. I can't remember the title, actually, on top of my head, but the story it's based on is absolutely astounding. And then Herman Melville took the story and turned it into Moby Dick.
Yes.
But it's absolutely breaking.
Yeah, I read that one, and I've seen a couple adaptations of it, but like I said, that's a really good one. So, like I said, I'm going through this list. I mean, if you can go to that link that I have
Sure.
listed on my comment,
Sure.
goodreads.com shelf show 100 books to read before you die. I'm just going through it one by
Okay.
one. So the next one is Slaughterhouse. I have not read that one. Slaughterhouse 5. No.
Me neither. Me neither. But I know of that one because it's mentioned in Footloose.
Okay.
Because the lead character Ren mentions what a great book it is, and all the moral uptight people are very outraged. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know it was a real book because I saw that film when I was 5. And you have Ren saying it's a classic, and then you have the pious townspeople saying, "Well, I think they actually said Moby Dick is a classic or something similar."
Okay.
But I've never read that book. No, I think it's one of these great American novels, is Slaughterhouse 5, but I've never actually read
Yeah,
it.
there's all these different, like I said, I'm going through all these books. I'm going like, wow, some of them are American, some of them are not. But okay, so the next one is A Tale of Two Cities. I have not read that one, but I do know what it's about.
I have.
Um,
It was the best of times. It was the worst of
and it was
times.
the worst of times. Yes. I love that line. It's so poetic.
I know, I know. I read the book years ago. It must have been about 20, so, well, 20 years ago.
Hmm.
But it was about the French Revolution, and it was one. I know. Well, to me personally, it's not one of Dickens' best. To me, that's still A Christmas Carol. But his turn of
Yes.
phrase is just astounding. Was Dickens?
Yeah, Dickens was very good at what he did, but some of it was a little somber-ish. If that makes any sense.
Oh yes, oh most definitely. But Dickens was a bit of a misery merchant, but he knew how to turn
Yes.
a phrase.
Yes, it was all gloomy. I was like, ugh. All right, the next one is Rebecca. I have never read of that one. I've
Oh,
heard of it.
it's amazing. Oh, you must. I saw the film as well.
Okay.
Um, which I think Alfred Hitchcock actually directed that. And the entire book, because I read the book and saw the film, and I thought the film would actually say what was the second Mrs. Winter's name, and it's
Mm-hmm.
never mentioned. So I just came up with the idea her name was Llewellyn,
Okay.
because such a masculine name that you wouldn't think to ascribe to a female.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up in the debate, is the name of the second Mrs. Winter or Mrs. De Winter Llewellyn. But no, the book is just amazing. Both book and film. It's one of these um, takes. The book and the film are just as good as each other. So no, you must read Rebecca. It's just an astounding book. Please do, please do.
Okay. We'll do. Looks like the next one is The Hobbit. I think I've read parts of it, but I couldn't quite finish it. Tolkien's very, very hard to get into. So.
I mean, exact opposite, because the thing is, I read The Lord of the Rings because I had wanted to read Lord of the Rings before the last film came out. Just so
Mm-hmm.
I could be one of these people. The book was better. Yes, I know. But I read The Hobbit after I read Lord of the Rings. Now, to read Lord of the Rings took me about 2 months. I
Mm-hmm.
read The Hobbit in 48 hours. Yeah.
Okay. So you couldn't
So,
put it down. So you were so into it. You're like, oh, this is so good.
yeah, but it was just such an easy read in comparison to Lord of the Rings. I thought it'd be a slog. And then they turned it into the film, which
Yes.
was like a 9-hour trilogy, with a
Yes.
film which is 300 pages long.
Yes. Peter
I mean,
Jackson was incredible with his filmmaking in those. So yes. He does do it justice.
he did do it justice, but the thing is with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they had to cut things out because the book
Yes.
is so cut things out for the film because the book goes into so much detail and depth. With the Hobbit,
Mm-hmm.
add things which made absolutely no sense, and storylines and subplots, and Bill Baggins standing there for half an hour looking guilty for some weird reason.
That's true. I think that's the reason why they did like an extended version of it, of the director's cut, because it was much longer than the actual theatrical film.
Oh yeah.
So I think that that's one of the things that they redid, because a lot of people didn't realize that there was stuff in there that was missed from the original film. So yeah.
Speaking of which, if you ever get the
Okay.
chance, is to watch The Hobbit, so the Lord of the Rings trilogy director's cut with commentary, because it's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have actors
Yeah, I
like
want to definitely get those. That's definitely on my wish list of films to watch, because I love Peter Jackson. I loved his film, The Frighteners. I love the Lord of the Rings ones. So yeah, the Hobbit ones are definitely on my wish list to get.
Heavenly Creatures is a work of art. That's a great film.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was his first one, was it not?
By the way, you may actually regret asking me on this chat. I've got a BA in English Literature and a Master's in Creative Writing. So you may actually regret asking me on.
So I'm reaching out to your inner nerd geek.
Yes.
But I love reading so much. I mean, I've been reading since I was 4. And okay, so it looks like the next book on our list is Les Miserables. I actually read this one. Oh my God, it is so detailed that the
Another.
musicals don't do it justice because there's so much in this book. I mean, Hugo was a master storyteller, and his lines are so beautiful. I mean, he says, like, to love someone is to see the face of God. I love that line he says, and it's so well written.
I read it myself years ago, and once again, Victor Hugo was another misery merchant. He loved the miserable enders in his stories, but
Yeah.
he was a fantastic author. I remember the same time the Disney film came out, I read The Hunchback of Notre Dame, or The Notre Dame de Paris, the actual proper title.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
the Hunchback, yeah.
comparing the Disney film to the actual text, you're like, okay, this is definitely sanitized. This is definitely a change to the ending. But I know spoilers to those who haven't actually read The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. Just please do.
Yeah, there's also a film version of it, I think from the 1920s or 30s, that does it justice. It's more like the book.
Yeah. And then we said, I think it was Lou Chaney who played the
Yes.
Lou Chaney, the Hunchback. And he played the Phantom.
See it because I saw that one. I think there was another one that was done by French filmmakers, and it was really, really done well, honestly.
Oh, I think I've seen that one. I've checked that one out.
I forget who's all in it, but I do remember that because I saw that because I was in an immersion school, and basically when you're in that school, that they basically teach you everything. Almost all your subjects are done in French, and so you see films that are in French. You read books that are in French. You just basically you're immersed into that culture without going actually to that actual place.
Have you ever been to France?
No, but I do have friends that are in France. But I have been to Quebec now because that's a French province in British Columbia in Canada, and it's like you're in France there too because they do a lot of French speaking there. I mean, yes, they have English, but their main language is French. They're not going to talk to you in English unless you really know French. I mean, they'll say, "Oh, do you want a cafe?" And everybody's like, "Cafe? What the heck is a cafe?" And everybody's like, "No, no, no, no. They mean coffee. That's the French word for coffee, and that's what they mean when they say, "Oh, would you like a cafe?" They're like, "What?" But that's what they mean.
I've been to France twice, and because obviously I'm English, so it's just literally just hopping over, either getting a train or getting a boat. And after 6 years of French classes, I can say, terre un lait non sucre, tea, milk, no sugar. Here you go. That's education for you in Britain. It's like in Britain.
So when I talk French, I don't talk with my American accent. I talk like an actual person from France or somewhere. Because I'll say, "Bonjour, comment ça va? Je suis Alicia."
Ça va bien, merci. Et vous?
Je suis très bien, merci. So you see, I went from the American accent that I had, and I went into the French one without even leaving the room.
Here you go. That's brilliant. And you have a
They
very
were
good
saying,
French
"You put me to
accent.
shame because you sound so much better than me." And they were the native speaker from a French-speaking country, and they said, "You're putting me to shame." I said, "I'm not trying to put you to shame, but I just know it." Because our teachers were so strict with us about learning, because they would say, even after the school day was over, they would say, "Nope, you're not talking to us in English, you're talking to us in French." And to this day, I still talk to them, and they will not talk to me in English. They will talk to me only in French.
Wow. I would wish I paid more attention in school when it comes to languages. I was terrible.
Okay, it looks like our next book is The Secret Garden. Oh my goodness, I love this book.
Oh,
Mom introduced me to this one. I love it.
I love A Secret Garden. I think it was the first one I ever read that with Little Princess.
Yes.
And oh no, I love Frances Hodgson Burnett's work.
Awesome books, and they always had that Indian theme to them too. Because I don't know if she ever went to India or what, but she always has some kind of Indian theme of the Indian culture in her books. But the Shirley Temple version of A Little Princess and all that. Let me not get off on that, but it's just not like the book. It's
No,
not.
oh, absolutely not, absolutely not. Actually, really interesting. Okay, you mentioned about India because there's a lot of people who think that Sarah Crewe and the Little Princess, the way she's described, because
Mm-hmm.
she's described as having quite dark features, and so a lot of people who read the book assume because in contemporary text she's always played by a white child, but
Mm-hmm.
she was actually meant a bit of subtext. She actually was meant to be mixed race.
I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. Now, I know with. Did you ever see? Oh, what year was it? I want to say the 1983 version with a young Colin Firth with of the Secret Garden, because
There was one in the 90s.
there was one. That one was with Maggie Smith, but there was one in the
Yeah.
1980s because this one was a 1980 version, and it was so good. Now I know they added one scene into this version that was not in the book, but basically at the very end, Dickens sadly died, and basically that spoiler alert. I'm going to just say this: that basically Sarah was proposed. Not Sarah, Mary. This is the Secret Garden. Sorry. Mary is being proposed to by Colin.
Oh my god, I read a version of a Secret Garden, a sequel called Misselthwaite a few years ago.
Okay.
Well, the thing is it actually ends the same way. That
Okay.
essentially Mary, she's in a loveless. She gets married to this guy in India. They wind up splitting up. She comes back to Misselthwaite. She
Mm-hmm.
sleeps with Dickon, who dies, and then
Mm-hmm.
she marries Colin, who is
Huh.
her first cousin. Now I
Yeah, I know.
can't
I know.
remember.
I know they're cousins. Yeah, they are cousins. Yes.
It's worse now. I can't remember in the book if Dickon and Mary's parents were identical twins because they were in the film. But the thing is, if
No,
they were, yeah,
no,
but
no, no, no.
okay,
Dickon.
because
Dickon was just. I think Martha, the
Colin,
maid.
sorry, some of them said Colin. Colin and Mary's siblings or brothers were identical twins. Sorry, I
Okay.
can't,
Yeah, they
yeah,
did.
but the
They did
so but
one version which was really strange. They released it, I think, only on the video, and it was like where it was Mary and Colin, and basically she adopted this American girl who reminded her a lot of herself, and it was just so not like the book and everything. And I would just my mom, who loved The Secret Garden like I did, we both watched and we said, "What is this travesty? This is not the Mary and Colin we know." Because
yeah, I know of that actually. I think it's called Return to the Secret Garden.
it
I
is.
haven't
That's
actually
it.
read it. I
That's
haven't
it.
actually. No, I never read it. I never read it. So I never
The
watched it. I never
book
watched
is,
it. I'm sorry.
I mean, not the book, it's the movie. Oh, it's a travesty, honestly, cryptic. It is. If you ever see it, you're just gonna be horrified because that is not the Secret Garden that I knew. Because
I think I,
literally, they
I think I
locked
have to
up
read a
that
Misselthwaite.
garden and everything. And Martha's still alive now at that point because they're all older. And Martha locks up the garden soon after, and I'm like, no, Mary worked so hard to get that garden in order with Dickon and Colin. She would not lock that up ever.
Yeah,
So
it's always a shame, okay, when people adapt to like, well, it's not a sacred text, but it's a very important text
it
because
is.
for a lot of readers like you and I, that was, I think, one of the first classical novels. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, growing up, there was a lot of like contemporary books. There was like, well, I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. There was a Babysitter's Club. There was a Sweet Valley High. Those were the
Right.
But for a lot of young women and also men going into classical literature, that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
their first stepping stone because it's a
Yes.
children's book written over 100 years ago. So it has dialogue aimed at children, yet
Mm-hmm.
subject matter for its time period. So
Right.
it's quite an important kind of transition period. And after that, you go on to your, you said yourself, your Herman Melville's, your Charles Dickens. But
Mm-hmm.
that's almost a transitional book, if you will.
Yes. I mean, that was the thing that I did read those modern ones like the Babysitter Club and Sweet Valley High, but they never held my attention and
No.
gripped me as deeply as this classic literature did because This was classic literature that I could read over and over and over again, and it's timeless. And it was so beautiful. I mean, I just wish more young people would get into this, but they say, oh, it's old fashioned. I'm thinking, no, 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 no. It may be old fashioned, yes, and it may be dated, but it still has a story to tell. It still has a part in history that you need to learn.
Oh, I know. Oh, totally, totally. And also, I mean, well, the trope of the orphan as well. But Mary goes through such a lot of physical hardship. She
Yes,
said
she
herself
does.
by her parents.
Mm-hmm.
She, they actually die in the book. They actually die of disease, and she's left alive. But
Right,
people that she's there. So I think it takes a while to even figure that her parents are dead.
right.
They spoiled her life. She had her eyes and her servant, so she can't really function alone.
Yes,
She's there, and
exactly.
even and
She's
there's a
a poor
thing.
little brat, honestly. She really is. Because she doesn't know how to take care of herself at first until Martha, which is Dickens' sister, I remember she tells her, no, 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 Mary, you're going to go outside and play. Children out here in Yorkshire go out here and we play. We don't stay inside. We don't have servants who dress us and feed us. You got to take care of yourself, Mary. And because of Martha stunned her nose, saying, no, 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 you can't be a little diva around here. You're going to do some stuff around here. And I think that was the thing that made Martha realize, wait a minute here. This little girl needs to learn some things, and she hasn't.
And also, I mean, and also back in the time, I mean, the whole idea of gardens as well. I mean, well, people who obviously have them, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of brought the idea, okay, of a garden as a form of mental health, or how to help with your mental health.
Okay.
Nothing else. I mean, Mary is kind of healed through the garden. She learns about the plants and the
Mm-hmm.
animals, about nature as well, but she becomes more of a young lady. Her selfishness and shallow ways. Even her own appearance changes because she's changing too. It's an absolute, and then at the time, this was quite a forward-thinking idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that book is absolutely fantastic. So no, I absolutely love The Secret Garden. It's a
See
great
that?
novel.
If you look on the screen right now, Cryptic, I put a picture of that's the film that I saw of The Secret Garden. This one is from 1987.
No, I've definitely not seen that one. I'm definitely not
That
seeing
one
that
was a
one.
really good one. This one was a really good one. I mean, like I said, I absolutely adore this version because, you can see that Mary's dark-headed in this one, and it goes back to the backstory before she came to Yorkshire. It talks about her and her mother and her father, how her own mother was such a diva that she wouldn't even pop her head into the nursery to look on Mary and say, what are you doing? She just say, well, get the baby out of the way. Get the baby out of here. I don't want to see her. If she's crying, get her out of here. If she's not crying, I can sort of deal with it. I can deal with that. So yeah.
It's a great novel. I'm glad we're both fans of it. It's always good to talk to a fellow fan of Frances Hodgson Burnett. That being said, I didn't like Little Lord Fauntleroy, but that's just me, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it looks like the next book on our list is The Life of Pi. I have not read that one. I think I have the movie.
Absolutely me neither. I know everyone went on about it, and people have got my bookcase in my to read pile.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the
Quite
next
well,
one
but
is The Color Purple. I've actually read that one. Oh my word, that one was just. I don't know how
awful.
to. It's like weird. That's all I can say. It's weird.
Oh, well, I read it years ago. I probably read it about 15, 16, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Just, Cecilia, this totally disenfranchised woman, and what
Yes.
she experiences. And I saw, at the same time, I saw the film with Whoopi Goldberg, and I can't believe that was both her and Oprah Winfrey's first film. How they can
Right.
both
Exactly. And Danny Glover, who plays
Mister.
Mister in it, he is so wild as that character because you don't expect him to be that kind of way at all.
Oh no, especially if you watch the Lethal Weapon films first, then you watch The Color Purple.
Right.
But no, I absolutely adored the film. I can't believe when I found out because I'd seen Whoopi Goldberg in other films before I saw The Color Purple.
Right.
And
Exactly.
when I found out that was her first ever film, it captivated me because she's a very, very good dramatic actress.
Mm-hmm.
And with Oprah, I'm so surprised. I mean, Oprah's a fantastic presenter. She's a star. But I think
Yes.
it's a shame acting full time, because I reckon if she became an actress full time, she would have had an Oscar by now.
Yes, that's true, because that was such a gritty role.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that movie, but the movie is so different from the book, because the book goes into certain scenes that the movie never did discuss.
As memory serves, yeah, there was like a homoerotic subtext going on as well.
It very
But
much was. And I think Spielberg, bless his heart, he didn't want to do that. And I think he was, at the time, they were just starting to talk about that kind of thing. And so I think Spielberg was not quite comfortable with that. So I think he regretted not doing it, but I think it worked even though they didn't do it, even in the film. So yeah.
I think it shows a good way, okay, of just presenting Cecilia's life and what she went through. It would have been nice to have it as part of the subtext of the book. But at the same time, I feel at the time, because I think it was 1985, if that was in the film, that was what Eden would have focused on more, instead of the other storylines going on, because that would have been such a really big thing to focus on. But no, they're both film and book are both astounding. I mean, fantastic performances. Breaks your heart, really. So what's next on our list? I'm gonna go on. Alicia, you there? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go and wait for Alicia to come in. And it's Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery, a book I know and a book I absolutely love. I read the book years ago. It's one of them classic novels, and in Canada, it's one of the most popular children's works of fiction, and it's also absolutely beloved in Japan, of all things. Tourists come over from Japan to I think it's Nova Scotia.
Oh yes, I've been to Nova Scotia. It's beautiful there. It's absolutely gorgeous there. That's one part of Canada I've been to. I haven't been there in a long, long time, but I absolutely adore Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I do believe, it's in Nova Scotia where Anne of Green Gables is actually set, just top of my head.
Yeah, Prince Edward Island and all that. Oh my God, I want to go there again to see that. Yes. I loved all those Anne of Green Gables books, because I always said I wanted my own Gilbert.
Oh, Gilbert was amazing. Gilbert was amazing.
I love Gilbert. Gilbert was so good. Oh, he was awesome. I mean, he starts out as a jerk, but then you start rooting for him and start saying, "Oh, get with her, get with her, get with her, please."
And it's also, the fact is that obviously from Anna's point of view, being now her early life isn't really focused on that much.
Right.
But like if you watch Anna with an E, I mean that's too focused on really. But anyway, we're not going to go there. But the thing is, with Anna, she has such a difficult life. Then she's adopted by accident, if you will.
Yes, she is.
Everyone treats her so badly, and then she goes to school hoping to get an education. Gilbert teases her, and from his point of view, he's probably just teasing her because it's funny. Whereas with her, at her last rope, if you will, I mean, everyone knows the moment where she breaks her slate over his head.
Yes.
After he calls her carrots.
I love that scene. Because literally Anne is letting him know, I'm not going to tolerate this nonsense. You may be this rich kid and have had everything you wanted, but you're not going to mess with me, dude.
No, but the thing is, actually, at the time, that was really empowering, because a lot of times in this kind of fiction, young women were meant to be a certain way, and with Ellen Montgomery, she kind of took the archetypical orphan child, if you will. I mean, compare Anna with an E to Oliver Twist. Okay, different kind of, both orphans, if you will. But the thing is, if Oliver is too, well, Anna, after what she's been through, she's jaded, she's cynical, and she is over exuberant, and is covered a lot in Anna with an E. It's more like a coping mechanism sometimes. I mean, the thing is, she's had so much happiness that when she gets it, she's so enthusiastic for it, because probably in her mind, it can be taken away in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Because she's been adopted by Martha, and what's the name of her?
Marilla.
And what's the name of her brother?
Matthew. Marilla and Matthew.
But the thing is, but the thing is, in the back of her head, she's adopted by accident. They can still take her away in a heartbeat.
She always assumes that they're going to take her back, and it's not until just before Matthew's death that he realizes Marilla does love her. And I don't know if you read the other ones, Cryptic.
Yeah, I read
I
the
think
other.
it was. Anyway, you realize how much she loves Marilla because her youngest child of all the children that Anne has was Gilbert. Her youngest one is named after Marilla, but her nickname is Rilla.
It actually gets her own book. I think the last one of the series that
It
Elmer
is.
Montgomery wrote was actually called, I think it was Rilla of Ingleside. I think that's
Yes,
what it was.
it was. And
Yeah.
when you read that one, it's like you're reading Anne all over again.
Oh yeah. Oh totally. I mean, yeah. But one thing I liked about well the actual series itself is that it never like kind of showed away from the reality. I mean, Anna had all these fantastic ideas and she wanted to do a lot more, but she fell in love with Gilbert. And also, she did go to college to become a teacher. But sadly, for the time period, she couldn't work after she got married. She had to become a wife and mother. That was the actual gender expected role. She couldn't go against that. But she still made it work for her
Right.
children to have that independence and, fiery spirit. Even though she kind of confined
Right.
herself, she still kind of raised individuals. And one thing I did like was that her children, they all had their own distinctive personalities. I mean, I remember Walter's tragic passing as well, which definitely was unexpected. And one thing as well, because Elma Montgomery, when she wrote the sequel after the marriage, the first child sadly didn't make it. A lot of authors
Yes.
would have done that, but that was also to show how easy it was to lose a child in childbirth in that time period. Even if Gilbert was a doctor, he couldn't save his unborn child.
That's true. That was so true. I remember that. And I love that book. And like I said, I love her love story because you literally see them growing to love each other over the years. That he gave up his scholarship and everything like that so Anne could go to school. You see that over the years that he grows to love her. And that was the thing I loved so much. And then Rilla, her youngest, gets to have that with the soldier. Oh, what was his name?
Oh.
Um,
If anyone knows, please let us know in the comments. I can't remember.
But I remember what was his name? Oh, okay. I think I remember. I see it now. Kenneth.
Yes, the one.
Kenneth. And Kenneth is so much it's like you're seeing if she had continued it, L.M. Montgomery, if she had continued it, there would have been a series of Rilla and Kenneth and their story.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Because that was just the best. That was just the best, honestly. Looks like the next one after Anne of Green Gables is Atonement. I never read that one.
Me neither. I refused to. I saw the film, and the film. I thought, I'm not reading this.
I think I had the movie, but I have never watched it. Let's see. The next one is Madame Bovary. I want to read that one, but I have not read that one. I know what it's sort of about, but I have not read that one. Next one is Middlemarch. Have not read that one. George Eliot. I know George Eliot was actually a female, but she wrote by this pen name, and she didn't want people to know that she was really a female because it was not a popular time at that time for females to go by their actual name because they said, "Oh, women are not going to write; they're just going to be raising families and taking care of families. Basically, that's what they were, or nurses." And for them to write, that was considered scandalous. And so, for her to reach out and say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book," what are you thinking, lady? But she did it. She was she did it. So yeah, Louisa May Alcott was another one, and so was the Bronte sisters. I mean, yeah, but no, I haven't read that one yet.
Well, I actually haven't either. I've read North and South by the same author, which is a fantastic novel, but not Middlemarch. So not Middlemarch, sadly. So
okay, the next one is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I know you said you read that one. We both have read that one.
yes, I've read that one. Oh well, yes, I read that one.
I read the sequel, which was not as popular, of Charlie and the Glass Elevator. That one was good, but the first one, there was something magical about the first one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of. Well, yeah, that book absolutely is magical. Just one of Charles Dickinson's. Excuse me. Sorry, it's everyone wondering. Okay, it's 1:15 in the morning. By the way, right? It's one of Roald Dahl's best. I mean, I think he's a
Hmm.
success of it. Sadly, he didn't actually like the film that they did.
No, he
One
didn't.
with Gene
I think
Wilder.
I
But
know.
yeah,
I think he approved now of the one with Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder and everything. I think he did. I think he did get to see that one, but
oh yeah, he definitely saw it because Roald Dahl actually passed away. I think in the like 1980, I think
I
1989.
think
Or
1990. I want to say
yeah. But he had a habit of not actually liking adaptations of his work. But I generally enjoyed China Chocolate Factory. I thought it was or Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory. It's actually been titled both with both titles. But
1990.
no, I generally absolutely love this book. There's something quite because I actually saw the film because in this my country in the UK we see the film when we're quite young. It's one of the films growing
Yes.
up, but we don't really read the book too much later. So to me, Willy Wonka will always be Gene Wilder, and there'll be no escaping that. And Gene Wilder was such a great
Yes.
actor, and like, when he's describing the scenes in the book, to me, I'm seeing the scenes from the film. So because,
Exactly. Exactly. Because I remember reading this one in elementary school when I was still in the immersion school. I think I was about 10 or 11, but this was one class that I had that was in English now because we had language arts.
Mhm.
And I still remember this studying of it because our teacher, she had to have like a blindfold test. And she would basically have us say, okay, what kind of chocolate is this that you're tasting? And you had to do it all based on just the taste, the texture, and everything. But you couldn't see what it was until afterward. If you got it right, you were able to get another piece of it. I remember that. And she went through the whole history of how chocolate is made, and oh, it was so entrancing basically for this to happen. And it was like so cool to, you know, with the different kinds of chocolate was that there was more than just regular milk chocolate. There was white chocolate, there was dark chocolate, there was chocolate with caramel or caramel, as some people say. But it was so cool. I mean, it was wow. But yeah, this was an awesome film, and the Gene Wilder. The only scene I didn't like it too. I don't know about you, Cryptic, but the only scene I really was not too crazy about was the scene when they're in the boat.
Oh yes, that terrified me. It terrified us to the stage that actually been
That was
voted.
just so freaky. It was just so unusual. Like, what am I
Yeah,
looking at?
no, they actually did a poll, and that one of them that scene has actually been voted one of the most scariest scenes in a child's film
Yes.
because it came out of nowhere. And the thing is, well, up to this point, you have Augustus going up the pipe. You've got everyone. It's quite a happy moment. You've got the
Hmm.
lovely song, a pure imagination. And so they
Yes,
get on this boat, and then the boat turns into that, and it's absolutely terrifying because it comes out of nowhere.
it does. It
It
does. And the
does.
scenes in that on that boat when he's saying, you know, where we're going, no one is knowing. The rowers, the danger must be going, for the rowers are not stopping. I'm like, dude, what's going on? Get me off this boat.
Oh no, that moment is definitely twisted in the film. That is absolutely twisted.
It is. It really is. I
It,
mean,
but
yeah,
it,
it's twisted with Johnny Depp, but it was still, oh no. The Gene
I'm
Wilder,
gonna go
oh,
against the grain here. Now, I knew being a Tim Burton fan that if he got hold of China Chocolate Factory, he would not be a simple retelling. It'd be dark and twisted. But the
exactly, because
problem
that's the
is,
reason
I
why I
thought
couldn't
it
write.
was just too dark. I mean, I
Yes.
absolutely adored Deep Roy playing all the Oompa Loompas because Deep Roy is actually a really good actor,
Mm-hmm.
and so he was a highlight for me. Just to see Deep Roy, multiple Deep Roy, because normally he's in costume. He is, I think his name is Kessel or Kessler. He is Scotty's friend, little friend
Mm-hmm.
in the Star Trek films. Okay,
Okay.
so to
Yeah, I
see him
remember him. Yes.
so to see him out of costume and actually be in Deep Roy, I thought that was great. So multiple Deep Roys I thought was fantastic. The cast was amazing. Johnny Depp, I just thought the remake of China Chocolate Factory was just too dark. And also,
Yes.
maybe because I'm a bit more cynical, but the thing is, in the original version, I mean, the kids were all obnoxious, and in a way, they kind of got what they deserved. But in
Mm-hmm.
the film, I was like, these kids are a little bit bratty, but they're actually not that bad.
Yeah, the first one they were really bad,
They were
especially
really
Veruca.
bad. Yeah.
Veruca
Oh,
was absolutely horrible. The way she says, "I want it now," the way she was singing that song. I
but
mean,
but
oh,
no,
but the new
sorry.
one, oh no, the new one, she was just like, "Daddy, I want one of those," and he's like, "No,
Yeah,
Veruca."
yeah, she was a little bit bratty, but she wasn't that bad as she could have been. I mean, so I just like to thinking none of these kids deserve their fate. I mean, Mike TV got zapped because he's got addiction to playing video
Hmm.
games. But
Right.
the thing is, so do so many children. And Mike's obsession, in comparison, was actually quite tame to some children who spend their entire lives playing Fortnite, which
Exactly. It was before its time because Roald Dahl did not know what he was doing when he created that. Because at the time, kids were not addicted to television. Most of the time, kids were outside playing, or in the exception.
but no, I was really disappointed. And also the whole kind of subplot as well in the film with Willy Wonka and his relationship with his father, who was a dentist, and threw away all his candy.
Oh, that
And,
was just so twisted. I did
yeah,
not like that at all. I
and
was,
suddenly
oh,
the house disappeared. Like what was it? Like 10-year-old Willy Wonka went to a museum of countries, came back and suddenly his house disappeared.
yes, the train station. That was just so awful. I was like, because I thought at first he really had gone to those countries, and then they at the very end they said, "Oh, he didn't really go." I was like, really, really, you're gonna do? Oh. And when I found out, I do not like Tim Burton's works. I really don't, especially when Tim Burton. When I found out he had done the remake of Dumbo, I said, "No, Tim Burton needs to leave Dumbo alone. Leave that movie alone. Don't touch that."
I actually haven't seen it, but a good friend of mine who absolutely loves Dumbo. It was her childhood film. She can actually quote Dumbo
Mm-hmm.
because she saw it. It was like a family favorite film. They all watched it as kids. As actually is Disney's shortest canon film. It's only 64 minutes long.
I'm not
There you go.
surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because especially
Oh,
because they were working on that one during World War II. So
mhm.
yeah, they stopped all production on a lot of things, and that was one of the few ones that they released during the war. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not surprised that was the shortest.
But I said to her afterwards, how was Dumbo? Because I was thinking about seeing it myself, and she said to me, "It's 2 hours long, and the film's called Dumbo, but he's not even the lead character in his own film." I said,
Right, because I saw Brian Hull, who's on here on YouTube. Now, I've
mhm.
never actually have met Brian, but Brian went into a in-depth conversation reviewing the film, and I listened to it, and I looked at the trailer, and I listened to the classic song from Dumbo that we all love, "Baby Mine."
Oh, I cried that song. I love that song. So
I
some
do
people
too.
agree, but I
I
never
do
see
too.
it.
But the thing is, when you hear this one cryptic, it makes your stomach turn.
Is that bad?
It's haunting. It's like, "Baby mine." I'm like, hold on, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it because it's awful. It's not like the classic lullaby that brought you to tears. This one almost scares you. And I'm like, what am I listening to? I'm like, no, don't, no, 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 don't. Let me see if I can find that real quick because I have my Spotify up. So let me see. Oh, here it is. Here we go.
Okay.
Baby mine, don't you cry. Baby mine, dry your eyes. Rest your head close to my heart, never to part, baby of mine.
That's horrible.
It is not over. It's not over. It continues. I said, what? I mean, the thing is like, what is it? 2 minutes and 56 seconds of that. That's
Wow.
not the Dumbo we grew up with, Cryptic.
No, and also, I mean, it's only one song, and I didn't hear that lot of it, but I seem to like the sincerity of the original. It seems
Exactly.
to be a bit too like a
Exactly.
pop song than a sincere lullaby from a mother to her child, which is what it was.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly. Because every time I see that scene, it brings me to tears.
and
But this
also,
one, it does not make me want to cry. It just makes me want to
oh,
scream, shut
and
it off, shut it off.
And also in the context of the visual Dumbo, that's a moment where Dumbo hasn't seen his mother for so long, and there's
Exactly.
a possibility that he may not be seeing his mother after that. No one knows what happened to her.
Right.
She's
He
chained
doesn't
up.
know when he's going to see her again. That's
Mhm.
right.
And also in the subtext of the time period, at a time where actually it was a world war. At the time, people were fighting. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people in the audience that would have evoked quite a severe reaction from the mothers who had their husbands or their children or their sons fighting.
That's
Yeah,
true. Or the children that were over in your neck, over in England, that were
yeah.
being separated from their parents, that they were being sent away to avoid being bombed and everything like that. So that would have affected them too, to say, wait a minute, am I going to get to see my mother again? Am I going to get to see my dad again? Am I going to get to see England again? I don't know.
And sadly, because a lot of the evacuees in my country who went over, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
see their parents for years. And this was a lot, obviously, of also the Jewish refugees that came over to this country as well.
Right.
They didn't see their parents, if their parents made it out, until after the war. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them, they were going back to a culture which they no longer remembered, a language they could no longer speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it must have been really, really hard for an evacuee, I mean, from either your country or my country, to basically come back after 7 years to a country which has changed from what you remember. And a lot of it you won't remember because you're too young to. But,
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because they knew so much. Because when you learn something at a young age, I've learned this because the immersion school I was in, because I learned it so young, it stuck with me. But when you're an adult or a little bit older than, say, 10 years of age, it's a little bit harder to relearn it again because you've gotten so used to that original thing that you learned. So, yes. Okay, getting back to the topic. The next one on the list is Fahrenheit 451. Oh my God, I had to read this one for my senior year summer reading. I hated that book. Oh,
loved it.
I hated it because the reason why I think I hated it so much is because my love of books and the idea of books being burned. It horrified me. But now, sadly, it's becoming the norm now that I think about it because every single time I turn, and I don't know if it's over there where you are, Cryptic, but over here in the United States, people are getting horrified by things that are going on that they don't like this, they don't like that. So they'll burn it, they'll tear it down, they'll destroy it. I'm like, wait a minute, how are we supposed to learn from our history if we keep destroying our history and trying to make it seem like it didn't exist?
Oh, I absolutely agree. People are doing exactly the same in my country as well, and a few statues were torn down too. I'm against these statues being physically destroyed because
Mm-hmm.
even though it may be a subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
they were still created and they're still art, if you will. So
Exactly.
if they're going to be removed from their plinth, from the town centre, then have them placed in maybe the town hall or a museum, saying this is who this person was, this is what they did. We don't
Mm-hmm.
agree with it, but we're not going to destroy the imagery because it's like destroying the history of it.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Cryptic. I wish more people would say that because the thing is, I may not like what happened in history, but put it somewhere people can say, you know what, you may not like what happened in history, but here's something you can learn about that history portion.
Oh yes. Oh no. I mean, maybe because we have a lot of statues in this country of very. I'm from London, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So we have many statues in this country as well. There's many things, and they've been part of the landscape for hundreds of years. That
Mm-hmm.
they've just become, monuments to themselves. So for them not to be there is kind of obscene in a way.
Yes, exactly. Because, like I said, they're destroying ones here in the States, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm like, wait a minute here. These people were part of our history, and to just erase it and say, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that. Wait a minute here. No, 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 no. Just no.
No, no, I'm totally against these. I agree that if it upsets a lot of people, that they should be removed, but they
Right.
shouldn't be
But
physically
just
destroyed.
but don't destroy it. Put it somewhere people can learn about it, but don't destroy it. That's all I can
Yeah,
say is don't
yeah.
destroy it.
So,
Okay, the next one.
I actually did Fahrenheit 451, so
I need to reread it again, but I haven't read it since I was 17.
I always like the fact that Ray Bradbury, that's the author. He
Yeah.
kind of saw how kind of like the birth of the digital age, how less people are reading books, and more people are going onto social media for their entertainment. I mean, look at
Mhm.
us now; we're talking on YouTube. But obviously, it doesn't take away from I love a reading. But so many people are so codependent on the media, and
Mhm.
it becomes part of their world, if you will. They can't function without, their Instagram, their Facebook, their Twitter.
Exactly.
They can't, you know, they're not really living a life, and
Mhm.
it's quite heartbreaking how there is kind of like with what Brad was trying to say is also how in the world of Fahrenheit 451 is that there's no new culture being made. There's nothing with depth. It's all service level. It's all like social media. It's all
Mhm.
television. It's basically there is no culture anymore, and the culture that they do have is just being erased until it's nothing.
That's
And
true.
but I also saw the film as well years ago. The one by it was a French director,
Okay.
and which was absolutely amazing as well. But no, I absolutely really like that.
I
Like that
mean,
bit.
that's the thing that I've learned that sadly we have not learned from our history, and yet we're repeating it, and yet we're trying to cover it up. And the thing is, like, I think you were on Ellie's stream, weren't you? That she did yesterday on Orville Family, where she was talking about social media and stuff like that. And I was making a comment in the chat saying sometimes you just need to walk away. You need to just shut off the computer, shut off the phone, get away from it, and leave it alone because social media, it's a blessing and it's a curse. I will say that flat
Oh
out.
yeah,
I mean, I love the fact that it can connect us to fresh new people that we may not get connected to. But the thing is, it's a curse if you can't put it down and focus on people that are right near you, honestly. So, yeah. Yes, exactly, Crystal. Museums are amazing for teaching and learning culture because that's what I learned when I went over into Quebec. Because I got to see a session of Parliament that I would not get. You read about it in the books about Parliament and everything like that, but it's another thing to see it firsthand for yourself to say, "Hey, this is what Parliament is, and this is how it's ran." Because the average person is not going to know about Parliament, especially an American or a non-American that say over in France. They're not going to know about Parliament because they did away with it during the French Revolution. So if we can educate people by putting them in museums or putting them on these field trips, go for it.
absolutely.
Okay, the next one on our list is David Copperfield. Oh, I read this one. Yes, I read this one many times. I feel so sorry for David because he had a hard life. He had a very hard life. I think this one is almost the closest to Dickens' own life story. This book was. So yes,
I've never read it.
that one was actually a really good one. If you ever get to read a cryptic, read it.
I would, but it's 600 pages long. I mean, seriously, it's a doorstop. It's a Dickens doorstop novel.
Yes, it is a long one. The next one on the list is Memoirs of a Geisha. I have
I
not
read,
read that one, but I have it, and I have the movie, but I have not watched it or read it.
I read the book. I've seen the film as well. The book is. I thought the book was kind of captured obviously the subject matter, but
Hmm.
no, the book is really good. There's a lot of differences within the
Okay.
text, but because in the book, what's her name? Is it Chio?
Okay.
Well, our protagonist, she's the one who actually gives Pumpkin her nickname.
Okay.
Whereas in the film, she's already had it.
Okay.
She's the
Let's
one who says the pumpkin and says you look
has
like a pumpkin.
because I think they had an extended version of the film, so I don't know. Okay, and the next one is Beloved. I have not read that one. I think I've heard of it.
Never.
And in the final book on this book of 100 books to read before you die is Heart of Darkness. I have not read that one.
I is it? I'm not sure if I've. No, I haven't. So no, I've never read this one. I never read this one. So no.
Okay, so the next topic I was going to discuss was about Shakespeare and how I absolutely adore Shakespeare. I mean, I was talking to Ambassador, and we were literally geeking out over this 1996 film of Hamlet that had Robin Williams in it, and it had other people in it. And it was basically, to us, it was the best adaptation of the screenplay done by Shakespeare.
So which one?
The 1996 version.
Of Hamlet.
Yes.
Oh, is that the Kenneth Branagh one? Oh,
Yes.
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 Oh, yes, the 3 Hour Hamlet. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That
yes.
was the best film ever, because I love that one, because that's the only one that Ambassador and I both agree that is the only one where you get to see the actual Hamlet on screen without it being like one of these public television film adaptations of it where it was just boring and dry. This one was not boring and dry. So if you ever get to see it, anybody who's in the chat who's watching this, or anybody that's watching this on the rewatch, watch that film. That film is so worth it. Because it's basically, I know I'm going to freak out over this, but the thing is, it's just an awesome, awesome film. It really is. But no, I love Shakespeare. I love that one. I love Romeo and Juliet, some of that. I love Macbeth, some of that. I love Othello, and I love Julius Caesar. But the thing is, I don't know about you, Cryptic, but for me, I love the male lines in Shakespeare's lines. I do not like the females because it's so sexist and it's so for that time period. But the males, they have the better lines, honestly. I mean, I just love Shakespeare. It's just awesome. It really is. It's a. I wish more people could get into Shakespeare. I really do, because yeah, it's old and dated, but it's good. It's really good, because some of these lines, they just are so well written, saying like there's something rotten in Denmark, or friends, countrymen, Romans, lend me your ears, or double toiled, boiling trouble, cauldron, burn, boil, and bubble. I mean, it's gorgeous literature. Okay, you like A Midnight Summer's Dream, Crystal? I couldn't get into that one. I mean, I know about it and I know most of it, but I have not really read that one or watched that one. I haven't watched that one.
I'm with Crystal. I love A Midsummer Night's Dream. In my country, that's a lot of the that's shown in actually primary schools. Normally, we're about 10 years old.
Okay.
It's not the actual full version, obviously, but it's kind of like the abridged version because it's considered a very easy Shakespeare play. It's one that hasn't got that much depth. It's more of a fun one.
Okay.
And so it's a good way to kind of introduce the young ones to the bard. And I love it. I just love Puck and Titania and Oberon. I just like the idea of obviously the fairies is kind of having fun, if you will. And I absolutely adore the character of Puck. I mean, I like the fact with A Midsummer Night's Dream, it's one of these plays which has kind of had so much influence in other works. I mean, if you look at Gargoyles.
Okay.
Gargoyles is such heavy Shakespeare themes with the witches and Puck.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely unbelievable. So, but no, I always like to Midsummer Night's Dream as well. Just the kind of comedy of errors, if you will.
Gotcha. Like I said, I mean, Shakespeare, it was so, and one movie that most of you who are watching this may not be aware of, but the movie She's the Man with Amanda Bynes. That's actually based on one of Shakespeare's plays.
The Taming of the Shrew.
12th Night.
Oh God, you're right. Sorry. Kiss Me Kate is a Taming of the Shrew. I'm sorry about that.
Correct. No problem. But the thing is, most people don't realize that is actually a Shakespeare play. They think, oh, it's just a modern story about a girl who's pretending to be her twin brother. No, it's actually a story that was written by Shakespeare. And like I said, Shakespeare, yeah, it's kind of dated, but the thing is, it doesn't have to be dated. There's ways you can do it properly. Because I don't know about you, Cryptic. Did you ever see the Romeo and Juliet with Leo DiCaprio?
Yes, yes, I did. With Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Directed by the guy who did Strictly Born, the same director, also did Moulin Rouge.
Yes, exactly. The
Yeah.
thing is, most people don't realize that is one of the better versions of Romeo and Juliet out there. I have seen Romeo and Juliet, the public television one, and I saw one that was from the 1960s. That one was kind of dry because it's like the kind you would see on public television. But the one with Leo, it was so good to see that one done. I mean, it's really done right, honestly.
Oh, it is. It is. Romeo and Juliet updated for the MTV generation, which really kind of set a precedence of other adaptations. You've got 10 Things I Hate About You, which is
Mm-hmm.
the Pairing of the Shrew, and also Kiss Me Kate, which is a musical based on it. It's
Mm-hmm.
involved. You've got She's the Man. You've got a version of Othello called O, which is very, very dark. And
Yes, that's based off Othello. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you've got Shakespeare in Love. It kind of set this idea of kind of reinventing Shakespeare for the MTV generation, as they called them in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did absolutely love about Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet is the fact that it was so faithful to the text. It was so updated in such a way.
Yes.
And one thing I absolutely loved is the fact it also just kind of like celebrated the culture as well, because it was done in Verona Beach, obviously between mafia bosses.
Yes.
If you will.
Mm-hmm.
One of
Exactly.
them was up and come up, one was new money, and it was really, really clever.
It was. And I like the fact that they did the scene because the public television ones never shows the scene with what was his name? The priest. Hello, Mando. Good to see you, my good friend. So with the priest, Father Lawrence, I think, if I remember correctly, he had someone going out to deliver the letter from Juliet. And the thing is, with the one with Leo, they do it justice. They really do. Because they're having this FedEx person trying to deliver the letter from Juliet, trying to let him know, hey, look, something's happening, but please hang tight. It's okay. It's okay. And you see the fact that the letter never did get to him, sadly.
No, send it post haste. I remember saying, I think that was the name of the actual company, Post Haste.
It might have been.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think it was. Instead of being FedEx, it was Post Haste.
Okay.
No, I absolutely loved, and one thing I absolutely adored as well is the character of Mercutio in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
The one who is stabbed and says, "A plague on both your houses," which kind of like twists his death, kind of twists the story, if you will, because that was, I think, the first time I really got feel for more of these characters as well, and compared to other versions. I feel of who they were, their friendships. We can understand why Romeo was so devastated by Mercutio's death and why he did what he did and the outcome. Because we had a chance to actually get to know Mercutio, who was did supply Romeo with drugs, but still good best friend. Good.
Yes, exactly. And Crystal's saying in the chat, which I knew it already, Romeo and Juliet, sorry, not Romeo and Juliet. The Lion King animated version was based off of Hamlet. Yes. And also the one based off of that, Lion King Return to Pride Rock. And that was supposed to be based off of Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it. It's a terrible, terrible film, by the way.
Yes, it is terrible. The only thing that's good about it, I don't want to cut you off, Cryptid, I'm sorry. But the only thing that's really good about that film is the music. The music's the best thing about it. The story is crap, yes. But the music is beautiful.
I did like how they got the original voice cast back. I mean, you can't have Timon and Pumbaa not be Nathan and Isabella. So that's one thing I did appreciate. And obviously, Timon and Pumbaa are obviously Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from Hamlet.
Yes,
so
they are. And a lot of people don't realize that, but yes, they are. Because they're basically the unknown narrators, you might say. But Disney has subtly done Shakespeare without people realizing that this was Shakespeare. But that's the thing I love about Shakespeare, that the dialogue is so timeless. It's so beautifully done. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I know I'm freaking out over this, but it's so good. It really is. And I just wish more people would love it as much as I do. And it seems like, oh, you Americans, you like your teen dramas and stuff. I'm like, no, I actually love Shakespeare more than I do the teen dramas because it's so timeless. It's so powerful.
And I'm almost exactly with you. And if not the actual like dialogue, but the subject matter itself. I mean, she's the man. Now I've read 12th Night. I've seen the version of 12th Night.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely adored the update. I thought was really, really clever with the dialogue. But no, Amanda Burns made a fantastic Viola.
Yes.
But no, it's like, 10 Things I Hate About You, The Taming of the Shrew, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many little nods to Shakespeare within the dialogue as well. Also with her friend who, pretentious as she is, finds Shakespeare, she's involved with Shakespeare. I'm like, really? But still. So there's so many nods to the original
Yes.
text that you can't really get away from that. I mean, no, Shakespeare is a kind of author which obviously it's been, for about over 400 years.
Yes.
We're still talking about his work because it has such an impact as well. And now also with Shakespeare, one of the reasons he became so popular was that his theatre kind of played to the masses. This is mass entertainment back in the day. So
Mm-hmm.
the way we've been to, the Globe Theatre, it's a reenactment of the Globe Theatre. But you had the upper tier in the upper level and the poor people in the cheap seats standing. But it was a
Mm-hmm.
way for the classes to actually come together as well. And
It
then during
was. I mean,
yeah,
it
and,
was.
and
I mean,
yeah, and also
it
during
was.
plague as
It
well.
was.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when the plague hit London, the actual actors, because back then women weren't actually allowed on stage, the actors toured. They did it in open air fields.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, kind of Shakespeare kind of let his memory keep going, his legacy keep going. So people who wouldn't really get acquainted with the theatre, like the poor part of society, had a chance. And with Shakespeare's dialogue, one thing that's really, really clever is back then people didn't speak in ye old English. That wasn't their kind of
Mm-hmm.
dialogue. It's how they wrote in plays, but it didn't say, your households both alike in dignity, fair run where we lay our scene. But it was a way of introducing obviously culture to the masses as well. And it
Mm-hmm.
was amazing how Shakespeare got his name out there by at the time doing things that a lot of theatre owners, because he was actually referred to at the time period when he became a popular writer. Now he actually was referred to in an article as an upstart crow. Now that was actually taken, and that's the name of a TV show in my country. The TV show is terrible. It's the comedy show about William Shakespeare, and it's terrible. But
Mm-hmm.
even in their lifetime, because Shakespeare was a man of the people, he played for everyone. That during the high society, the more upper tier writers whose names aren't as remembered, as he was writing for the masses and not the top tier, he was actually
Right.
looked down on, both as a writer
I
and
mean,
everything else. Yes.
yeah. I mean, Shakespeare was basically for that time period. He was bringing like the old Greek and Roman dramedies that they used to do for the Roman officials and stuff like that. He brought that to a new generation, and that's the thing I love about Shakespeare is that it's timeless. That's the way I can put it. It's timeless. Even though it's old, so to speak, but it still has some powerful, powerful dialogue in it. I mean, Julius Caesar. I mean, a lot of people may not know about Julius Caesar, but if you read it, you find out that Julius Caesar was murdered, and then to find out that the whole Senate is turning on him, and to find out the one that Brutus, the one that's his protege, turning on him when he says that line of that's so powerful. He says, "Et tu, Brute, then falls Caesar," and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Beware the
people don't
world of
realize
Mark.
that he's being murdered and he doesn't realize that he's being turned on. And a lot of people are saying, they always assume, well, Julius Caesar was this power hungry person and they just turned on him. Well, there's a reason why they turned on him. And that was the thing that Shakespeare brought out in his play, Julius Caesar. And I know with Hamlet, he brought that story out because Hamlet was based on a real life person.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, as well, is because the thing is, at the time, people weren't obviously well educated as they are now. I mean,
Exactly.
there's a lot of talk about Shakespeare and if he actually wrote the plays or not. There's called
Right.
I think called anti-Stratfordians, people in my country who don't believe Shakespeare actually wrote the plays. Someone else did.
Yes.
Because Shakespeare didn't actually have the
That's true.
education
There is
required
that
to actually write the
controversy. Yes.
plays. But the thing is with Shakespeare is that he took his historical stories and kind of wrote them in a way that we've kind of accepted how he's written them as fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's Antony and Cleopatra, there's Julius Caesar, there's Henry V.
Right.
So the thing is, the way he's written them, they've become such a strong part of the kind of mental mindset that when we think about Julius Caesar, we actually do think of him saying, you know, talking to Claudius, "Et tu, Brute," the Ides of March, because his version
Mhm.
has become such a part of the vernacular, if you will, that it's,
Exactly.
you don't really go against it.
Right. Exactly. We do exactly, Cryptid. Thank you, because we assume that Julius Caesar was this way, and but the thing is, when we read something, what is it? We just think of him as a dry Roman, but then when we read the Shakespeare version, he doesn't come across so dry. He feels like a real life person that had meat and bones on him, so to speak, that he actually lived and breathed at one time. I mean, that was the thing that I love that Shakespeare brought to light, that a lot of people assumed he was just this dry old writer. He wasn't.
Oh
I
no,
mean, that's what makes it
Shakespeare
so
had way more
powerful.
nuance. Shakespeare had absolutely so go to a room. Shakespeare had way more nuance as a writer because obviously of who he wrote to, but he was not really respected in his lifetime. It only took several generations of his work, especially after the Reformation in my country. That was when Oliver Cromwell came along, and
Yes.
he basically ran the theatre and Christmas, and he was a horrible person. But I think the post-Reformation, that was when Shakespeare had his first revival because the theatres opened and they were just scrambling
Hmm.
for plays. But no, Shakespeare has just really become part of the vernacular in my country. If you ever do have you ever been to the UK, Lucia?
No, but I want to. I really, really want to, because I love the culture. I really do, especially learning things about Henry VIII. And I mean, I read this one book, and it was David Starkey. He talked about all six of the wives of Henry VIII, and he went into so much detail talking about each wife. I mean, oh, that book, it was so powerful. It was so good. I mean, it took me a while to read it, yes, but I absolutely love that book. It was so good. That's the way I can put it. It was so good. It was a good
Sorry,
book. I mean, it really
I've
was.
actually read the
And
same book. I read the same book to David Starkey.
let me see if I can find the image
But
of it. But
that's the thing. Sadly, is because but just so you hear me, I have to put that aside. Is with sadly Shakespeare had to write using contemporary themes but with historical figures, because if he actually wrote about Henry VIII in the time of Queen Elizabeth's court, he probably would have been burned as a heretic.
that's true, because they hated him. They really did. They didn't realize. I mean, yeah, it was crazy. It really, really was. I mean, people have gotten the mistaken idea that he didn't. Maybe he did or he did not write it. I'm not going to say he did. I'm just going to say this: that either way, whoever wrote the writings that were done by, say, Shakespeare, they were done right. They really were, and they were beautiful. That's all. I mean, if you look on the screen, Cryptic, if you can see, that's the book that I read of by David Starkey, of the
I
Six
read the same
Wives of
book.
Henry VIII. It's an awesome, awesome book. It really is. It was so detailed too. I mean, I love that book. I mean, I love to read, and I think it shows, because I'm well rounded, you might say, because I read, I watch, I listen, and Shakespeare is one of those stories that just goes on, and other ones, these other books that we were discussing earlier. Oh my word! I just fangirl over these books because they're so much better than the babysitter ones. They're so much better than Sweet Valley High and all that, because these classic literature, they've got some meat on their bones, so to speak. So I just wish more people could be into it, because a lot of people are just like, ugh. But no, I mean, I've been reading a long time, and I want people to read it. I really do. People need to read, or if they can't read it, at least watch a film adaptation, such as the one we were mentioning about Hamlet. You guys need to see that film. I mean, yeah.
It's 3 hours long.
It's worth it, though, because that is the longest Shakespeare play out there. And there's so many people in it that you wouldn't think that are in it, but Kate Winslet is in this film, folks. Kate Winslet is in this film. You wouldn't think of her as a Shakespearean actor, so to speak, but she's in it. She's in it. Robin Williams is in this film. Jack Lemmon is in it. It's just, wow. Like right now, I'm going to show right here on the screen. That's Robin Williams, guys. He was in a Shakespeare movie.
Her name was very good in it too.
But no, like I said, guys, I fangirl over Shakespeare because there's so many adaptations that you wouldn't realize that is Shakespeare. Like the Lion King one. That's just one story that's happened to be done on the screen. That was done. I mean, it's a Shakespeare story. You wouldn't think of it as a Shakespeare. You would just think of it as just, oh, it's a cute little Disney film about a lion. No, it's a little bit more than that.
Oh, it's definitely more than that. The Lion King. Actually, when they were, because I've got the commentary. When they were doing the film, because actually it had more than one title. It was called The Jungle King, and then it became The Lion King, and so everyone started calling it Bamlet because they said it was like Bambi meets Hamlet. So so when they were making it between names, his nickname was Bamlet.
Clever. I like that. Because Bambi, in a way, it's not. Bambi's not so much Hamlet per se, because we know who killed Bambi's mother. So, and Bambi's not really trying to uncover who killed his mother, because he really knows. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows it was the hunter.
Bambi is actually a very good film.
Yes.
The artwork is beautiful. Even though Bambi's dad is a bit of a deadbeat, but still, you know.
Did you ever see the sequel, by the way, Cryptic, of Bambi 2?
No, a friend described it to me, and she said basically Bambi's dad keeps trying to dump from other people.
It's bad. That's all I can say. It's bad. It's obviously not the same Bambi that we grew up with, honestly. I will just spare you that now.
Thank you. No, I'd no intention of watching it, ever. So... No.
I mean, I've seen so many Disney sequels that were not as good as the original. I mean, Cinderella 3, What If the Slipper Didn't Fit? Little Mermaid.
Cinderella 3, I actually enjoyed, because I like the fact that Cinderella actually goes to spine and faces up to the fake.
I mean, that wasn't too bad. It's just the fact that they just did it.
Yes. Cinderella 2, no, but Cinderella 3 I enjoyed. Beauty and the Beast 2, The Enchanted Christmas, was absolutely god-awful.
Yes, agreed. The only thing that was good, there's only one good song of that whole one. I don't know if you will agree with me on this one, Cryptic, but the only good song in there was As Long as There's Christmas. That's the only good song in it.
Yeah. But it's something, okay, when the fact is that the actual best song isn't sung by the two leads.
Yes.
Or about the two leads. It's about Christmas.
Yeah. But that's the only song that's worth seeing. I mean, if you can get by with not seeing those sequels, honestly, because I'm just like, ugh. And then to find out they did a Little Mermaid Part 3, I'm like, oh no. I mean,
I've got my theory about that. Okay, because with the Little Mermaid, so with Cinderella 3, where she goes back in time and flashes forward, okay?
Right.
Well, the thing is, the voice of the new Prince Charming is the same voice as Prince Eric. His name is David Christopher Barnes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew his voice sounded familiar.
Yeah. So when the king is talking about his lost wife, about how she gave him the seashell, I believe that basically the king's passed away wife is a descendant of Melody and Ariel.
Yes, that's true. One thing that I know, I hated the fact that they would just make these sequels and they would just do certain things in it. I just, why? Just why? You want to just say, why are you doing this? Why are you no? I mean, that Dumbo one, ugh. Tim Burton should have just left that alone, really.
Tim Burton is a very good director, but he's not the kind of right director to take the subject matter of Bambi. With that, you need a director with a bit of a subtle touch. I mean,
Right.
I think if Spielberg would have got hold of it, but Spielberg has got a good grip of sentiment. Spielberg would
Right,
have made
exactly.
a fantastic Bambi, a fantastic Dumbo, sorry.
That's okay. But I know what you're saying, because it needs those kind of stories. They really need a sensitive touch, like
Yeah,
Bambi. You need a sensitive touch. You don't need someone that's going to be almost dark and sinister. And sadly, Burton's stories are sinister
that's the
theme.
thing. That's his theme. That Burton gets off on sinister. Very few of his films that aren't sinister. Like he did that film called Big Eyes, which is a total radical difference from his typical work. It was more like straightforward drama.
Mm-hmm.
But his niche, his kind of what people expect from him, is the darkness. And I
Right.
would, and it's difficult for a director to break away from type. But I think he should have been a bit more sensitive with the material.
That's true. I mean, like I said, the little bit that I saw of the Dumbo, it was not sensitive at all. It was not
No,
sensitive. And I'm just
I
thinking,
mean,
no, 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 no. I mean, that little bit of that song, oh, that's not the Dumbo baby mind that brought you to tears as a child. It's something that just makes you cringe in horror. I mean, that little bit that we heard. Mm,
and,
mm,
and also with something like Dumbo, and even how you feel about the stereotype of the Song of the Roustabouts and the Crows, everyone has their feelings about them. Okay,
mm-hmm,
however, the idea of Dumbo itself is about a young elephant who grows big ears by accident, is
mm-hmm,
turned on by his pride. Okay,
mm-hmm.
the only person who loves him with his mother. His mother defends him against being, actually physically abused. Not mental.
Right.
He really had the mental abuse. But then a child starts grabbing his ears. His mother defends him. And because of that, he's separated from his mother. Dumbo is actually a very, very psychologically, a very, very dark film. And
Yes.
you really needed to kind of capture that in a way. And Burton's a great director, obviously. I mean, he's done some fantastic films. I mean, absolutely love Beetlejuice and the first two Batman films.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't got the actual sensitivity for that. You've got to
Right.
be very sensitive.
Exactly. He doesn't have that sensitive approach, because certain stories you got to approach with sensitivity. I mean, honestly. And some of these stories, like we were talking about with The Secret Garden, that needs a sensitive approach to that story. A Little Princess, I mean, bless her heart, Shirley Temple tried. And I know the reason why they did it the way they did it, because America was in a Great Depression. I think the rest of the world was too. And they were trying to make it lighthearted and fun. But the modern day one, which is called A Little Princess,
I've seen it.
I
It's
love
yeah,
that one. I
I,
love that one because one of the scenes in it, and I know it's not in the book. I know it's not in the book, but I love the scene where Mitchin, the headmistress, gets her upcomfance at the very end, where she's having to clean the chimneys and everything like that. He says, "Come on, Mitchin, I'm not waiting all day." And you finally get to see her get her upcomfance, and I love the fact that she gets to be back with her father at the very end.
which
I
is not
love
in the
that.
book, but still is not in the book. But everyone kind of gives that a slide. The father's still alive because in the actual book he's not. I was interested with the book as well. Is the fact is that the next door neighbor has been looking
Hmm.
for her for like 3 or 4 years at this point. Sarah
Right.
normally in adaptation she remains a child, but when they actually find her, she's actually a young adult. She's like a teenager. They're
Yes.
looking for her for several
One.
years, and
Yeah.
she was next door the entire time.
Right. They had no idea that this was the girl that they were looking for. They didn't realize that, wait a minute, this girl that's being nice to us and everything like that, that's Sarah Crew. That's the girl we're looking for. They had no idea.
No,
Well,
no.
but with Shirley Temple, I mean, bless her heart, I understand the way they did it, but oh, I was so horrified. And my mom always assumed it was that way, but then she read the books and she when she read the book, when she saw the movie Heidi with Shirley Temple, she said, "Ugh, no." But then when she read the book Heidi, and then I don't know if you ever saw this one, Cryptic. Did you ever see the Heidi with Jane Seymour?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Was Jane Seymour the adult or the grown-up?
She was an adult. She was the one that played Miss Rottenmeier.
Oh, no. I love Jane Seymour. Never saw that one.
Okay, well, if you ever get to see
Check that one out.
see it. Please, if you get to see it, because it's good. It's really good.
All
It's
right.
not like the book. Now, it's not too much like the book, like Heidi, but it has enough of it where it feels good. It feels like these are the characters. I mean, it's a really, really... Sorry, 1993. I'm sorry, the movie was made in 1990. It was a mini-series. But it was a really good movie. Patricia Neal was in it. Jason Robards was in it. Oh, it was basically an all-star cast, you might say. Let me get this up on the screen so you can see it real quick. But that one was really, really good. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Crypto, but they made actually a sequel to Heidi that was not done by the original author, where Heidi grows up.
Yeah, she has children of her own.
Yeah, Heidi grows up, and that was a really good one. Yeah, but yeah, that's Heidi. That's the film that I'm talking about with Jason Robards. It was actually a mini-series that came out in 1993, but it was a really good film. It really was.
I'll check that one out. So,
but no, that was... Yeah, I remember Jason Robards in it. Not Julia. Jane Seymour. She plays Rottenmeier. That was a really good one.
That's the name that screams villain, doesn't it? Rottenmeier. I mean, that's the name that screams, okay, everyone's going to hate your guts. That's not even a surprise name. Rottenmeier. I mean, seriously.
Yes, because she was an awful, awful character. But the thing is...
No, I like it though, because the thing with Jane Seymour, in my country, I mean, she was a Bond girl, obviously, but she's also better known in my country for being Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. So when you have a character whose normal type is being such a good character, and they become really, really dark, it's actually really, really good. No, it's a nice little twist. A lot of people would not see coming.
That's true.
It's like years ago, I saw Angela Lansbury in a version of the Manchurian Candidate.
Okay, that's right, the original one. Yes. Yes. That's a good one.
That is, but the thing with Angela Lansbury, because Angela Lansbury is actually a proper dramatic actress, but then she kind of fell into the role of, being the nice person, being Jessica Fletcher, being, being the good person.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, but see it in Manchurian Candidate as someone so opposite is really, really refreshing for an actor, because it kind of shows acting chops a little bit more. Actors really kind of get settled into, like, they kind of get typecast. But when one goes against type, there's also, if you're interested, an actor that's going against type is Ryan Reynolds. Now, everyone knows him from Deadpool or Van Wilder, okay? But there's a film he did a few years ago called Woman in Gold. Have you seen it?
Not one no, I want to see that one.
It's absolutely amazing, because obviously everyone knows him now as Deadpool, okay? Whatever version you're watching, okay? You're watching the Wolverine film, or you're watching Deadpool itself, or obviously Van Wilder, which I think was his first big film. But no, he plays a lawyer trying to get a painting back that's basically, it was taken as Nazi property.
Oh, okay.
And so they're trying to get it back to the rightful owners.
Okay.
And it's such a great film, because I know Ryan Reynolds is actually a really good actor. He did loads of indie films before he got his big break. But when you see an actor just going, in a way going against type now, because now he's Deadpool, he's kind of set into that. But no, Ryan Reynolds is actually a very good dramatic actor.
Okay. I know I saw
because of Deadpool.
Jane Seymour. I've seen her. I don't know if you ever saw it, but Somewhere in Time.
No, I've never seen that one.
Oh my word. If you ever see it, make sure you have the tissues nearby because Christopher Plummer's in it, Christopher Reeve is in it, and Christopher Reeve, was Superman. But when you
Yeah.
see him in this one, it's like he's got some meat on his bones in this movie because basically he falls in love with this young woman. But this old woman comes to him and she hands him this pocket watch and she says, "Come back to me." And he's like, "Who is this old woman? Where does she come from?" And then somehow he's able to bring himself back to the past. And he falls in love with Jane Seymour. And I won't spoil it, but I'll just say make sure you have tissues nearby because it's a powerful, powerful, powerful story. It really is. And Christopher Plummer, he's normally just the dashing captain or the evil Klingon and stuff like that. But then to see him play this evil agent who is Jane Seymour because she's an actress in Macon, basically, and he's basically saying, "No, you stay away from my protege. You leave her alone."
I've actually always admired Christopher Plummer as an actor, because I think the first time I ever saw him in was The Sound of Music, because
Yes,
that was the film growing up. But luckily, he wasn't typecast
no,
because he was a very, very good dramatic actor. I mean, yes, I saw him I think it was Chang in Star Trek 6, and he was loving it. He actually is a massive Star Trek fan. So the fact
He
that
is.
he's loving the performance. But
Yeah.
one of his most breathtaking performances is the girl with the dragon tattoo. Because
Okay.
he's absolutely astonishing in that film because he's so twisted and evil and he's nailing it. I mean, when you compare, obviously, The Sound of Music to this actor, you wouldn't actually think it was the same actor if you didn't know. Because one is
Okay.
that twisted, convoluted performance next to I'm going to melt his heart through singing Captain Von Trapp.
That's true. Just like Sean Connery, I know he had to get out of the mold of playing the part of James Bond for years, and he had to get past that. And I loved him in I call it the last one, even though it wasn't the last one of the Indiana Jones one, The Last Crusade. That
We
one
don't
was
talk
the best.
about, well, the Crystal Skull doesn't exist. We don't talk about it. It's a trilogy.
No,
And a
no,
spin-off TV show and a trilogy. The fourth one does not exist.
no, it does not. And so, like I said, Sean Connery is so awesome as Harrison Ford's father in that film. Because when he is always saying, "Junior," and then he finally tells him in that one scene at the very end, if you guys ever see it, he basically tells them, "Let it go, Indy. Let it go." That's the only time he ever calls him Indiana.
Hmm. Also,
And
as
that's
well,
basically such a good scene.
sorry, interrupted. Also, that film as well is very, very interesting because, in a way, Henry Jr., the senior, is so anti-indie, if you will. With Indiana Jones, is so suave and debonair,
Mm-hmm.
whereas obviously Henry Jones Senior is basically kind of gets thrown into these situations and he gets out of it, but not through brute force
Mm-hmm.
by wits, which I thought
Yeah.
was really clever. It kind of turned the archetype, if you will, because you went into that film thinking he'd be in a way like James Bond, and he was the exact
Right.
opposite. The thing is, though, because I
Yeah.
absolutely love Sean Connery as an actor, but his accent, he cannot lose his Scottish accent for anything.
No, he cannot. He cannot lose that accent. Just like he did it in The Great Train Robbery.
I
He
think we'll
did
see that.
so good in that one, the train robbery. That's a really good one too. It's basically an Agatha Christie novel, and basically, let me see, was it the Agatha? No, anyway, it's a really good film if you ever get to see it. But Connery's really good in
Murder on
that
the Orient
film. But
Express.
yeah, he cannot give up that Scottish accent. I love his accent.
No,
What he's
I
always saying,
think,
Junior.
I think the funniest one with Sean Connery's accent is if you watch Highlander in Ramirez. So you have a clearly French guy
Oh yes, yes.
trying to do a Scottish accent, and
Mm-hmm.
yet you've got a Scottish guy coming in saying I'm Egyptian, and you're like, really?
That's true. That is so true. Or what was it? Like one of those movies that I really loved, and you actually felt like they were the real person was Doctor Zhivago with Julie Christie and Omar Sharif.
Mm-hmm.
That was so. I mean, If you guys ever get to see that one, that is so good. I mean, I never have read the book, but I know enough of the story to know Boris Pasternak, he did have two women in his life. Literally. He literally was a two-timing guy. And you're like, what? But yeah, I mean, I just love the stories of the past, really.
I've actually seen that film. I'm the worst. I should really. Think about French literature. French literature.
Now, there was a sequel. They did a new one of Dr. Zhivago with Keira Knightley, and that one was not as good as the original one.
So was a double
Because the one with Keira Knightley, honestly, that was just lame. I'll just say that because it does not do it justice. But no,
I do like Keira Knightley as an actress. I think she's very good.
she's good. She's very good. It's just she's not right for that particular role to me. For the part of Laura Zhivago, she's just not right in that. Because they changed it because in the movie originally she has a daughter, but then in the new one they changed it and they made it a son. But no, classic literature and movies, I think I'll always love them, especially if they're done right. Like Shakespeare, if it's done right, like this 1996 one. If these books are done right, like Anne of Green Gables, like we said earlier, that one was beautifully written. It really was.
I'll be truly honest though, when it comes to classic books being adapted into anything, I am absolutely sick to my back teeth of Jane Austen.
I love Jane Austen too. I really do.
Oh, I absolutely love it too.
Yes.
Jane Austen's work. I've actually read them all. I studied Jane Austen when I was at Winchester University, which is actually where she lived nearby. She actually is buried.
Okay.
She died in Winchester. She's buried in Winchester Cathedral.
Oh, cool.
I did actually visit her grave and actually visit the home where she lived, where she did some of her writing as well. But no, the thing is, Jane Austen has been adapted so many times. I mean, only last year there was another version of Emma, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, you've adapted Emma before on several occasions. I mean, even Clueless is an Emma adaptation. How many times can you remake Pride and Prejudice? I mean, there's even a Mormon version of Pride and Prejudice.
That's
Pride
true.
and Prejudice with Mormons. And
yeah.
So
and now they're doing it with the Pride and Prejudice with zombies and stuff. I'm like, just stop. Don't do that.
That actually really annoyed me. That's actually really annoyed me because I read the book Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and I really enjoyed it. I actually liked the little subplot with Mr. Collins and his wife. The fact is that I forgot her name, Mary Lucas. Mary Lucas was turning, and the fact that everyone kind of kept the facade going. And here's a spoiler, by the way, for those who haven't read the book Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. But in the end, Mary Lucas turned, okay, and Collins had to kill her. Well, you know, but the thing is, in the book, after he dispatched his wife, Collins took his own life. Now, this may sound really kind of twisted, but obviously, in the book Pride and Prejudice, Collins is a very, very religious man, and at the time period, if you ended your life, you would go to hell. Okay, which
that's true.
But so the thing is, with Collins' mentality, in the actual Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Colin generally loved Mary Lucas. A lot of adaptations don't do that. It's like a marriage of convenience. But Collins generally loved her so much. If Mary was going to hell for being unmentionable, Collins was joining her there. Which sounds a bit twisted.
Oh, yes.
But the thing is, he actually loved her so much. He was prepared to go to hell for her. Which sounds twisted, but in the context of the book, where in most adaptations has Mary Lucas and Mr. Collins in a loveless relationship, it's all about convenience, and she just puts up with him because she wanted freedom, because she was getting on in age. They actually had a relationship that was actually really loving. And the only other adaptation that actually shows that is called Bride and Prejudice. Have you seen it? It's an Indian
No,
version of Pride and Prejudice.
but I want to see it for sure.
Yeah,
That's for sure. I definitely want to.
yeah. It's an Indian
Because I
version of
saw
Pride
from it,
and
I was
Prejudice.
like, what?
And it's exactly the same thing. You know, the Mr. Collins character, or Mary basically makes it clear. I take care of me. He adores me. I'm happy. And very
Mm-hmm.
few versions do that. But I think Pride and
That's
Prejudice is
true,
a
though.
pretty fantastic novel, but it's been adapted so many times that it's beyond
Mm-hmm.
parallel.
That's true. That's true because people don't do it justice. Sadly, they don't.
They don't. That's the problem. They actually don't. I
I
mean,
mean, that's
even
the thing that makes me so mad with people when they do a book and then they do a film version of it. They don't do it justice. Sadly, they
I
don't
know.
read it. It's obvious they haven't read it.
Oh no, well they didn't really understand
I
the
mean,
subject matter. I mean, even Bridget Jones's Diaries, well, the first one
mm-hmm,
is an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice.
mm-hmm,
So, and the second one has chapters of persuasion going on, and the third one is just all over the place.
mm-hmm.
But still, hey, no, I mean, you know, that's the thing where you take a classic novel, you can, you know, adapt it way too many times. I mean, and I'm saying this actually wrote my version of
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Carol, but A Christmas Carol is always adapted. You know, there's so many versions of A Christmas Carol.
Yes. Did you ever see the theater version? I forget. Basically, it's a Christmas Carol gone wrong. Basically, it's a spoof of all these different things that everything that can go wrong in the play does.
Oh, that goes
Because
wrong. Yeah.
it's those are absolutely hilarious. Basically, I'll have to give it to you, Cryptic, when we finish this, but. It is so funny. It's basically everything that could go wrong. Like the person can't remember their lines. They have their lines taped up over the walls, or it's like set pieces falling apart. The ghost can't go through the wall without crashing. It's like everything that can go wrong because I've seen their production of Peter Pan goes wrong, and it's like it's absolutely hilarious. It really is. But it's awesome. It really is.
I know the company, they're British. They actually have it down the West End, which is still currently closed, a play that goes wrong, and they have actually turned that in, put it on TV as well. It's their version of Peter Pan, which obviously keeps going wrong.
Yes.
Now, I've done Amdram, so I know about things going wrong. I know about things going wrong quite a bit.
Yes, but that adaptation is so funny. I mean, I love their Peter Pan version because I typed it in on YouTube, typed in Peter Pan, and it showed up one day, and I said, okay, and I didn't understand it, and then when I started watching it, I just literally was on the floor laughing because it was just so funny. It was like the funniest thing I had ever seen in my life. It was like I didn't think it was going to be as funny as it was, but it was, especially that when they had them with the Teletubbies at the very end. I
Okay.
just couldn't stop laughing. Oh, it was just too funny. But no, I mean, but no, I love good books and I love good Shakespeare. But if it's done right, if they write it the literature and they stick to the source material, it's awesome. If it's not, it's awful. I'll just say that.
But sometimes also it depends on the source material. I mean, sometimes they take something which is a bit archaic and not make it better, but to kind of introduce it, make it see it in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Peter Pan has been changed so much that the original
Yes.
version it's based on is so different from the original text. Because,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just, if you mentioned the play that goes wrong, it's one of the subject matters in the play that goes wrong. That's why it came up. But obviously, the Peter Pan was a play first, and then it became a book.
Yes.
And so the play is what they really adapt. But the book I've actually read, and the book is actually so much different to the actual subject matter. I'm not saying, okay, that they're not both good, but they're both
Right.
the same kind of media, but done in a different way.
That's true. Did you ever see the movie Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp?
Yes, I did. Yes,
That
yes.
one was really good. I really enjoyed that one so much because it was really good. I loved hearing it because I was like, oh, this is fresh and new to learn about James M. Barrie because, yes, I knew he was the author of Peter Pan and Peter and I think it was Peter and Wendy and Peter in Kensington Gardens. And to see this story about James M. Barrie and his actual life, it just made me literally want to learn more about him and his life and to find out the sad tragedy of his life. It was like, wow.
I absolutely agree. I mean, obviously, decade because James Barrie's own life and Finding Neverland, which is a very, very good film. Kate Winslet as well. You mentioned her, and Johnny
Mm-hmm.
Depp. And but no, I always think it's kind of clever how they kind of intermix Peter Pan and James and Barrie's life because you can't think of James and Barrie without Peter Pan, and he actually wrote so many other books and other media and plays,
Mm-hmm.
poems. Peter Pan is what he'd be remembered for. There's a statue of him actually, well, not Peter Pan. So there's
Right.
actually Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens because that is. When you think of James and Barrie, you think of Peter Pan. It's the same way if you think of C.S. Lewis, you
Right.
think of Narnia.
Yes.
Because even though they wrote or when you think of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you think of Sherlock Holmes, even though he wrote so
Mm-hmm.
many other, because that one kind of book or text or media kind of entered, the mindset. I
Right. It,
mean,
becomes- it
I've read
becomes
other things.
it becomes a
Yeah,
trademark, you might say.
yeah. I mean, I've read other texts by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle,
Mm-hmm.
but Sherlock Holmes is his most remembered text.
Correct.
Even though there actually wasn't a 221B Baker Street, and now there is a 221B Baker Street,
Mm-hmm.
because it's now the Sherlock Holmes Museum, but then it was a bank afterwards before, but still,
That's
yeah.
funny.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Harry Potter. Everyone actually knows that about me. But the thing is, no matter what J.K. Rowling writes from now on, she'll always be the author of Harry Potter, no matter
Exactly.
what.
Exactly. Some people are just going to be always known for that one trademark thing.
Hmm.
And yes, they may come up with some masterful stuff, but they're always going to be known for that one particular thing.
Oh
They're
yeah,
always going to be.
I mean,
I
when
mean,
you think of, sorry, interrupted again. What you
that's
say?
okay. That's okay. I was just like the one that wrote Anna Green Gables. She wrote this other mini series, Emily of New Moon,
Oh, I've
and
heard of that.
it's not as popular as Anna Green Gables, but it has the same kind of theme where it's basically she's an orphan and she's raised by people that really don't love her, and she's wanting to be a writer. She lives in this fantasy kind of world, sort of like Anne did. But the thing is, she's very different from Anne too. But yeah, that author is always going to be known for Anna Green Gables.
Mhm.
These people are going to be known for that one particular thing, and you can't shake it. And sometimes those same stories or whatever are going to tie over into other things.
Oh no, I mean, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle actually did kill off Sherlock Holmes in the books, in stories in the Strand, because
Hmm.
originally the stories were published in the Strand magazine, in
Hmm.
story, and then they were compiled into a book, obviously, and became the stories of Sherlock Holmes. So each one is actually a short story, and then him and Moriarty fell off the Reichenbach Falls, and then Arthur Conan Doyle was like, okay, I killed Sherlock Holmes, I can write more of stuff that isn't for the pulp, for the masses, if you will.
Yes.
Basically, there was such outrage that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle got death threats.
Hmm.
I can imagine a gentleman in Victorian England getting death threats and wondering what was actually in the notes, but still, you know. But it was essentially forced because everyone gave him so much pressure. He had to bring back Sherlock Holmes from the dead, if you will,
Yes.
because it got
Exactly.
too much of him. And we're talking about Charles Dickens earlier on.
Hmm.
Now, Charles Dickens as well. I mean, I studied when I was at uni the Old Curiosity Shop,
Hmm.
and well, the thing is that spread across the pond. That story
Hmm.
hit America, and obviously it was all done by steam and boat. So basically, people couldn't wait for the next installment, and
Hmm.
people were literally going on just basically what happened to Little Nell, and they couldn't
Hmm.
believe that she'd passed away. And that's not a spoiler. The book's about 200 and odd years old. Well, over 100 years old. It's good.
Hmm.
So it's not a spoiler after 100 years. So, but yeah, Little Nell died, and people couldn't believe it. And people were outraged because he introduced this young character. Because normally a young orphan in a Dickens novel gets to live. I mean, Tiny Tim lived, Oliver Twist
Hmm.
lived, and Little Nell didn't. So, but obviously, that one crossed over the pond, became very popular in America,
Hmm.
and And with Oscar Wilde, I mean, with his work, I mean, which of his become? Well, obviously, I think his plays a bit more, a bit more like
Yes,
unpopular.
that's true. The Picture of Dorian Gray,
Oh,
yes.
which is a fantastic, fantastic novel. But
Yes, it
because
was. It was very good. It really was.
I'll tell
Because
you
it
that.
made me want to explore more about him and his life. And when I found out more, I was like, oh, okay. There's some meat to this guy. He's a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit grittier than I thought.
oh
I
yeah, a
mean,
lot of subtext.
yes, I
But
mean,
sorry.
no, I was just thinking about the one we were talking about Sherlock Holmes. I was thinking about that they try to adapt it to the modern day audiences at one time when I was a child. And
Mhm.
it was Sherlock Holmes in the 25th century, I think it was.
Oh my word! I remember this Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. It was a
That's what it was.
cartoon.
That's what it was.
Oh
It
yeah, I
was
saw
so
those.
it and that's what sort of piqued my interest as a child to say. And then they also had this television show. I don't know if they had it over there called Wishbone. And it was basically this
Mhm.
cute little dog who would tell classic literature stories. And this dog would put himself as the lead character. And so long story short, basically this dog would immerse himself into these different stories. And it was enough to keep you intrigued, wondering, huh, okay. And so it got me curious about Sherlock Holmes. It got me curious about that. And so when I found the book at the local bookstore, Barnes and Noble, and they had all of the Sherlock Holmes novels into one volume, I immediately snatched that up. I said, I have to find out more. I have to read Sherlock Holmes. So yeah.
Mhm. I mean, that, in a way, the kind of adaptations do kind of make the kind of subject matter a bit more accessible. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
read The Hunchback of Notre Dame and became a fan of Victor Hugo because the Disney film was coming out. And, I definitely compare and contrast. So, in a way, the kind of different kind of media, I mean, it's kind of like when I gave my cousin a copy of Emma by Jane Austen, and she came back
Mm-hmm.
to me and said, "It's a bit like Clueless, isn't it?" And I went, you're so dumb," and B, and yeah, it's actually got on the start of Clueless, based on Emma by Jane Austen. It's in the credits.
I mean, that's the thing that certain things are just like, what? Like, did you ever read any of Robert Louis Stevenson's work by any chance?
Yes,
I'm just
yes. I actually
curious.
studied the Treasure Island when I was at uni. Actually, that's very, very interesting
Yes,
because Treasure
I
Island.
loved his stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I read that at 12. I read that at 12. And then I read The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I read Kidnapped. And I think my two favorites of his was probably Treasure Island and Jekyll and Hyde. Those two really piqued my interest. But
Actually,
no.
one was actually really interesting as well because it was one of the first books that was written with a child protagonist through the eyes
Yes.
of a child. Now, but back then, that
Mhm.
really wasn't done. They were about the child, but not through the eyes of the child. And actually, a comparison from most media to the adaptations is there's a lot more cynicism in Jim as well, which is a lot more realistic too.
Mhm.
No, I mean, I absolutely love Treasure Island. I think it's a really good book. Kidnapped, I read years ago, but Jekyll and Hyde, I mean, that's been adapted. Say adapted. Sorry,
Yes,
I think in English
exactly.
class.
So has Treasure Island.
Adapted. That's
That
better.
doesn't get nearly enough love as it ought to, but Treasure Island, I love that one. I really do. I remember doing a book report about that one and reading Ivanhoe or The Three Musketeers. I mean, I read a lot of the classic literature, honestly, and I just absolutely adored it. And like I said, it was books were my outlet. Books were my sanctuary, you might say, that I went to when I was feeling down and low. I would say, okay, let me pull out my books. And when I would read the books, I would feel like I was in Narnia, or I would feel like I was there with Jim Hawkins, or I was there in Nova Scotia with Anne Shirley, or wherever I was. I wasn't where I was. I could escape reality without actually escaping reality.
Oh, same here. And I've read Dumas as well, Alexander Dumas. And, well, even I'm not even sure, it's pronounced Dumas or Dumas because the S
Dumas,
sometimes is red.
Dumas,
Thank
Dumas.
you. demands, because sometimes with French people who are French, the S is sometimes silent. So there was a big debate. It's kind of like when I was doing a class, we were discussing the correct way to pronounce Van Gogh. Was it Van Gogh or was it Van Gogh? You know? Hey.
Van Gogh, Van Gogh, Van
Yeah,
Gogh.
I say Van Gogh. But no, I mean, one thing I absolutely love about Alexander Dumas, because obviously he was like he was like a 20th century author, okay, was a 19th
Mm-hmm.
century author, but he was writing about obviously time before the French Revolution.
Yes.
And the thing is that has been adapted quite a bit. When I was growing up, there was an adaptation called D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers. Yes, they were dogs. The Three
That's
Musketeers
funny.
with dogs.
That's funny.
The Three Musketeers with dogs.
That's funny. I had to. Hello there, love, Corinne. How are you, my dear friend?
Yeah. So, but the thing is, so when you read watch D'Artagnan, same way as if how you found Sherlock Holmes, through Wishbone. So through watching D'Artagnan, when I got a bit older, I found, I actually read the Three Musketeers,
Yes.
and maybe because they're coming from a post-French Revolution, writing about the pre-revolution with the kings and queens and and that kind of they actually are very, very dark subjects. They basically end badly.
Mm-hmm.
In
They
those
do.
books, there is no happy ending.
No, there's not. I mean, see, that was the thing that I learned in the immersion school because we learned about the French Revolution. We learned about that, and to learn that the reason why the guillotine was created and Marie Antoinette and all of her story. I mean, it's just like, wow. It's just like, I love that time period, even though I know it wasn't the most pleasant time because the people were starving and stuff like that. But I absolutely love the fashion of that era. I mean, especially with the Leo version of The Man in the Iron Mask. I love that film. And it was so well done that it made me want to read the book. And then when I read the book, I was like, okay, this is good, but the movie's better in some ways, if that makes any sense.
I actually do agree with that. Even though for those who are watching this, who are a fan of the Three Musketeers and the ones that followed, we do apologise. But also, one thing is interesting because at the time these books were written, I mean, things like Robinson Crusoe or
Mm-hmm.
in a way, the birth of literature is as most people at the time couldn't read.
Right.
Because it was reading what people who could read was for the more educated people.
Or the rich.
Oh yes, the rich. Oh yeah, people like me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
around probably about 20 years ago would definitely not be a reader.
No.
So
And us females would definitely not be reading, especially, no, we would not. We would just be home taking care of our families. We'd be the baby factory, sadly.
oh yes, oh most definitely. So the thing is, these books are written to be read aloud. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why a lot of it is repeated. I mean, if you read Robinson Crusoe, which people say is the first English novel. It's not, by the way. It's not the first English novel, but people call it that. It's definitely not. But a lot of that repeats itself because people used to read some aloud and then come back like the next day or later on to read
Mm-hmm.
some more. And that's why a lot of it repeats itself. I mean, and Dumas was no different. I mean, as well, these books are made more to be read aloud or to be read by obviously rich people. And in a way, it kind of harkens back to a time pre-revolution as well, which in a way, in a nostalgic yet cynical way.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It goes back to the when they were doing the Greeks and stuff like that, like with the Iliad and the Odyssey. It goes back to that too, because people were listening to this story being told aloud, like you're saying, because people didn't realize that they didn't read these books. They couldn't. I mean, you could be saying that the book says such and such and such, and nobody knew any different. Or the story of Arabian Nights of 1,000 Tales. I mean, it's a fictional story, but every single night she's telling him a fresh new story to save
mhm.
her life, and he's so intrigued by every single story that she hears from her, and he's like, wow, I want to hear more, I want to hear more. And he loves it so much that he makes her his wife.
Oh yeah. The was it 1001 Nights? I think it's
Yeah,
called the Arabian Nights.
1,001
Yeah,
Arabian
Arabian
Nights,
Nights.
yes.
Yeah. But and obviously through that book, we actually get Aladdin. That's one of the most popular
Mm-hmm,
stories in
exactly.
that.
And Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, we get that one too.
Yeah, they came from that well, but No, I mean, we're actually really kind of fortunate to be at a time where is so much literature going out. There's so many of the classics. There's now modern day classics.
Exactly.
No, it's
Because the person's telling the story, because the thing is, you guys didn't know, or in the chat, I know Cryptic probably knows this, but with 1001 Tales, she tells enough of the story and then she leaves it hanging at the very end, just enough to keep him intrigued to save her life, because she knows if she goes all the way to the end, she dies. But she tells enough of the story to keep the Sultan engaged and wanting to know more, so she tells him just enough to intrigue him. But she doesn't go back to that story the next night. She goes to the next story, and the next story, and the next story, and the next story. And he realizes, if I want to find out more, I think I need to marry this woman. Because at first, those women were so fluffy, and I hate to say it, but they didn't have a brain in their heads, and they didn't think to do something like this. So this woman comes up with a fresh idea. Oh, why don't I tell the king a story, but tell just enough of the story to keep him engaged and make him want to know more?
Here we go. So I had to go on the wiki just to get. Her name was I'm mispronouncing this.
Sherazade.
Thank you so much. See, that's the problem with me is that I learned. I was an advanced reader, so I read books at quite early age. I learned to read, well, independently from the age of 4. But the thing is, because I read the word, I didn't know how it was pronounced.
Yes.
And so that's so, and I think everyone who reads books knows this feeling. How you read it and how it's pronounced. It's totally different. Like, I think I was about 8 when I read Around the World in 80 Days. And there's a character in it. Now he's French. His name is Passepartout. Okay, he is the manservant of the pod. However, if you spell it, it's spelled passport out. Yeah, you can imagine how I read it.
Yeah, you're going passport too? Passport too?
Yeah, but it's spelled passport out, as in get your passport out.
Right. Exactly, because people don't know how to pronounce it. Because that was the thing I loved. One of the things I had as a child at the local library, they would have the book and they had an audio tape of it, and you'd hear somebody read it out to you. And you get to a certain point and they now turn over for the rest of the book on side da 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 da. And so yeah, I mean, but sadly we don't have those audio books like we once did. We have it on Audible, but it's it's cool and all, yes, but it's something, I don't know, it's something special when you read it yourself too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But no, I mean, I was always in the library as a kid, so I love my, in my best West London accent, I love my books.
Yes, exactly. And I love my books. I mean, books were, like I said, my sanctuary. They were my safe haven to go to say, okay, I don't have to worry about the world around me. I'm not worrying about being bullied. I don't have to worry about school trouble. I can just immerse myself somewhere else and I don't have to think about it.
Oh, shut the bottle. Okay. So, but no, I mean, so yes, that's nice talking about books. So, what are you reading at the moment?
Right now, I'm reading the book about Galileo's illegitimate daughter.
You had one of those?
Yes, he actually had 3 illegitimate children.
Okay, I didn't know that.
2 illegitimate daughters and 1 illegitimate son. They're all by the same woman, and that daughter became a nun, and she has correspondence with her father off and on throughout her life, I think until before her father's death. But people didn't realize that was his daughter, because when she writes the letters, she'll say, "My dear sir." She's so respectful to him. And so that one is a really good, it's very detailed now, but it's a very good book.
That sounds cool. That sounds really academic,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not reading that. I'm reading a book called An Almost Perfect Holiday by Lucy Diamond. So.
But there's so many books out there that I want to read. I have on my wish list to say, okay, I want to read this one. I want to read that one. So yeah. But yeah, I'm reading about Galileo's daughter.
Besides, I'm not a book purist. I know people like that, and everyone in the comments listen to this. You know these people. Basically, if you like a particular kind of author, or a particular kind of book, they will look down their nose at you like, oh well, oh, I only read the classics, or just kind of really kind of academic authors, just kind of
Yeah.
highbrow who write like 600-page books like Dickens did with David Copperfield, But no, my view is just read what you want and have fun with it. Don't let anyone say. I mean, even if you like reading the Sweet Valley High books, which I've actually read a few of those, and my God, I absolutely hate Elizabeth, and I think Jessica's awesome. But
I mean, go ahead and read them if you're going to read them, but make sure you read something, please.
yeah. And honestly,
yeah.
Elizabeth is the worst in those books. She's the absolute worst in those books.
I always would read the super specials more because they went into a little bit more detail, especially the ones when they were in college, because there was one where Elizabeth thought Jessica had died or something. And it was like so different and everything like that. But I think Jessica thought, no, it was the reverse. I'm sorry. It was Jessica who thought Elizabeth died. And basically she goes upstairs, goes to sleep, and she dreams of this alternate reality where Elizabeth died. And she's so distraught, saying, oh, Elizabeth, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then Elizabeth shakes her awake and says, Jessica, wake up. And she's like, Elizabeth, you're alive. You're not dead.
Anyway, Alicia, this comment's been absolutely great, but guess what, everyone? I'm in the UK. The accent didn't give it away. It's 2:45 in the morning.
But thank you so much, Crypto, for coming on. I enjoyed our lovely conversation.
Oh, it was so much fun.
And great Shakespeare. So thank you so much, my dear.
It was absolutely a pleasure. Honestly, like, a few days ago, I'd never done a live stream, and now I've done 2. Yay to me.
Bravo, Cryptic. Bravo, Cryptic. Maybe you can do some more on your own now.
Anyway, everyone. Well, today is now Wednesday, so have a good rest of the midweek. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everyone. Okay, and I love to you all. Bye, Alicia.
All right, thank you, Cryptic. Thank you so much. Good night, my sweet princess.
Night. Sweet dreams.
Bye. So thank you all so much for watching. My name is Alicia, or AVP. I hope you all enjoyed this lovely stream about great literature, the great Shakespeare. Thank you so much, Cryptic, for coming on. We had a wonderful time talking about great literature and great Shakespeare. So if you guys get a chance to check out that list of the great books to read, 100 books to read on Goodreads list, try to check them out if you can, and make sure you at least try to check out some Shakespeare sometime, because Shakespeare is not so dull like you think he is. It may sound dull, but it's not. It's great, it's fun, and it's timeless. So, my dear friends, I'm going to sign off for tonight. Thank you so much for coming out, everybody who did. Crystal, Kathia Star, Jody, Life with the Barnetts. Who else came out here too? We also had Elihu, who was in here earlier. Thomas Connolly, my dear friend. Thank you so much for coming out. And we also had, who else came in here too? But yeah, thank you all so much for, a Storyman Jack. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it all for coming. Like I said, my name is Alicia, also known as AVP, and if you can, please subscribe if you're not. Please check out my other videos. Also, if you need help with finding about my GoFundMe, please don't be afraid to message me privately so I can give you details about that. And I will chat again another time. Bye!